All right, so we're going to talk about simple interest. The nice thing about simple interest is it's a simple formula. So simple interest is interest calculated only on the amount of money that we invest, called the principal. Our formula is I equals PRT. I is the interest earned, P is your principal, which is again your amount borrowed or deposited. R is the interest rate, always written as a decimal. T is time in years. If you're looking for 1 month, you're going to do 1 month out of 12, so T equals 1 over 12. All right, so let's look at our first example. So this is 3.1 if you're in my class. And for example 1, we are looking at solve for I. Given that P is equal to 300, R equals 7%, and T equals 8 years. So again, our formula is I equals PRT. So we're going to plug in what we know. So we've got 300 for our P. Remember, our R is 7%, but we always have to write it as a decimal, so 0.07 times T. It has to be in years, which it is, so that's going to be 8. We will put that in the calculator, 300 times 0.07 times 8, and get 168. Now remember, if you're going to do dollar signs, they go at the front. So there's number 1. Let's look at example 2. Here we're going to solve for P. Given that I equals 100, R equals 10%, and T equals 6 months. Now remember, it has to be in the form of years, so 6 months will be the same as 6 out of 12 months, 6 months out of 12 months, and we can reduce it down to 1/2. You don't have to put it in the formula, but they'll both divide by 6, so we can reduce it down and make our number smaller. All right, so using I equals PRT, our I equals 100 equal to P, what we're looking for. Our rate, again, has to be written as a decimal, so 0.1. You can put 0.1 or 0.10 because it's the 10, but you don't have to put the zeros if they're just zeros after the number, times 1/2. So I'm going to multiply 1/2 times 0.1 in my calculator and get 0.05. Now what I want to do is put the 0.05 in front of the P to make it a little bit more what we're used to seeing. So 0.05P, just like we're used to seeing like 2x or 3x. I'm going to put the number in front. So now I'm going to divide both sides by the 0.05P. And I get P is equal to 100 divided by 0.05, which will get me 2,000. So my P, the principal I need to invest to end up with $100 in interest over that period of 6 months would be 2,000. All right, let's look at example 3. So example 3, we are going to solve for R, given that I equals 100, P equals 2,000, and T equals 180 days. Now, understand, it'll tell you in your homework to assume 360 days per year, because a lot of times they do kind of round. So they are saying assume a 360-day year, because otherwise this makes it a little more, you got to know how many days they're saying. So that means that my T is 180 days out of 360 days, which again will end up being 1/2. It always has to be in years. It cannot just be in days. It cannot be in months. All right, so I equals PRT. So 100 equals 2,000. R times my 1/2. Again, I'm going to multiply the 1/2 times 2,000, and I'm going to put it in front of my R. So that gets me 1,000 R. Divide by 1,000, and my R will be equal to 0.1. And I'm going to write that as a percentage because it is the rate, so it'll be equal to 10%. Because most likely in your homework, they're looking at the percentage rate and not the decimal. All right, example 4 is going to be on our handout. So we have Bob. He put $24,000 into a certificate of deposit, also known as a COD, that gained interest at a rate of 10.5%. How much interest did the account gain after 4 months? So again, you're looking at using simple interest until they tell us otherwise. So we have our $24,000 is going to be our principal. We have our R, which is our rate, and the amount of time is 4 months. We don't have any other letters. We don't have any M's of compounded this or compounded that. That's another way you will know it's simple interest. If it doesn't say compounded, you can't use the compounded interest formulas. It has to be just simple interest. So we have our I equals PRT again. We're looking at how much interest he earned. Our P is how much he put into the account, so that's $24,000. We're given the rate of 10%. We have to put it at a decimal, so 0.10 is 10.5%. 5, so 0.105. Now they told us 4 months. So I can't put 4 because it's got to be in years, so that's going to be out of 12 months. So that's going to be 4 out of 12. And 4 and 12 both divide by 4, so we can put in 1/3. You could put the 4/12 if you don't feel like reducing in the moment. You'll still get the same answer. Now I'm just going to multiply those, and my I will be $840. All right, example 5. How much interest will you have to pay for a credit card balance of $11.52 that is 1 month overdue if a 13% annual rate is charged? So how much interest are we going to pay? So again, we're looking at I equals PRT. Our principal is the amount on our credit card balance, which is $11.52. We were told that it is a 13% rate, so 0.13, and the time is it's 1 month overdue, so that's 1 month out of 12 months. Again, we're going to multiply, and we're going to get 12.48. All right, let's look at example 6. So for example 6, if you pay $24 to a loan company for use of $17.50 for 190 days, what annual rate of interest did they charge? Assume a 360-day year again. All right, so how much interest did they charge us? We are again looking at I equals PRT. So the interest that they charged, or we paid, was $24. That's how much we paid for the use of the money. So 24 will be the interest. $17.50 is the principal, it's the amount that we borrowed. They want to know what our rate was, so we're looking for the R, and our T is 190 days out of 360 days. Now, because they both end in a 0, I can knock off the zeros, and we're going to end up with 19 out of 36. Again, you can still put 190 over 360, but sometimes it's nice if we can learn how to reduce a little bit, and it makes it a little bit easier. So again, I'm going to multiply this side together. So I have 24 equals 33,250 divided by 36 times R. So what did I do here? Well, if I take my part here, let's clear that out. I have 1750, my calculator, times 19 divided by 36. I get kind of a decimal look. You could do that, but then you don't want to round early. If you round early, you'll have an issue. But what I can do is, because remember my 1750 is over 1, if I got two fractions, I can just multiply 1750 times the 19. Sorry, I got a pen smudge. 1750 times the 19, so the numerators, I get 33,250, and then I just left my denominator now at 36. When you multiply, they don't need a common denominator. We're not adding, we're just multiplying. Multiply the top of the fractions and then the bottom of the fractions. All right, now I'm going to divide both sides by 33,250 over 36, because I got to get R by itself. If you recall, we don't divide by fractions, we actually multiply by reciprocals. So we'll actually have 36 over 33,250 times 24 will equal to our R. So when we put this in our calculator, we will get R equal to 0.02598, which when we move the decimal over by multiplying by 100 or moving it 2 places to the right, we get 2.598%. So let me show you. So I'm going to take 36 divided by 33,250, and then I'm going to multiply by 24. So I just put it in my calculator. If I had used 923.61, let's say I've rounded, because a lot of students do, then I would have 24 times, oops, I can't see my number, 923.61 I must have done something wrong. Hang on one second. Oh, I have to divide by it. I multiplied, sorry. 923.61. So we take 24 and we would have divided by 923.61. And it's very similar, 0.02598. It has a few more decimal places versus, let's see, 4962. And it goes 94. So it wouldn't have made a big difference in ours, but you have to be careful that sometimes it will make a difference in your answer. So that's why we're going to leave it as a fraction. All right, so we are on to example 7. So on example 7, we have a little note here. We're looking at future value with simple interest is A equals P times 1 plus RT. So number 7 is not on here. So we're going to go, know that we're using that formula. We're going to use A equals P times 1 plus RT to find A, given that P equals 5,500, R equals 10%, and T equals 3/4. All right, so 3/4, that's 3/4 of a year. 3/4 is the same thing as 3/4, which we can also write as 0.75. So either way will work. It'll probably be easier to use a decimal in this formula. All right, so we have A equal to P times 1 plus RT. So our A is going to be 5,500 times 1 plus our rate, 0.01. Oh, sorry, 0.1. I put too many zeros in there. Hang on. As soon as I wrote it, I'm like, that's not right. It's 10%, not 1%. 0.1 times our 0.75. So we can multiply this part here, 0.1 times 0.75, and that'll get us 0.075. We can add the 1 plus and get 5,500 times 1 plus, or 1.075, because we just added the 1 plus the 0.075. And we get 5912.50 when we put it in the calculator. Again, dollar signs go at the front. Now you could put that in your calculator at that point. You at least have to written out the whole original part before you just give an answer. All right, so that's example 7. Let's go on to example 8. Example 8, we're back to the handout. Determine the present value, which is P. You must invest to have the future value, which is A. So present value, that's your principal, in order to get the A. At simple interest rate R, after time T, round to the nearest cent. So we're given 9,500. For our A, our rate is 8.5%. T is 26 weeks. So we need to know how many weeks are in a year, because it doesn't say. There are 52 weeks in a year. All right, so for example 8, I'm going to write down what the values were in the example. And T equals 26 weeks. And 26 weeks will be 26 out of 52. And again, that's going to be 1/2. And we can write that as 0.5. All right, so A equals P times 1 plus RT. So our A is 9,500. Looking for the principal. 1 plus our rate as a decimal, so 0.085 times 0.5. I'm going to put both of those in parentheses so it's very clear that they're going to be multiplied. All right, so we're going to put all of this in a calculator this time. So 1 plus our 0.085 times 0.5. We still have 9,500. Multiplying and adding that, we're going to get 1.0425 times our letter P. I walked you through the last one so you can see where the numbers come from, but you can just multiply. All right, I've got to solve for my P, so divide by 1.0425 on both sides. So now our P was going to be equal to $9,112.71. So that's how much we have to put in the account in order to have $9,500 in 26 weeks. All right, and example 9 will be our last example in this section. A loan of $890 was repaid at the end of 18 months with a check of $915. What annual rate of interest was charged? So a loan, that means we got a loan, that was the starting part, that will be our P, was repaid with a check of $915. That would be the accumulated value, how much the loan became valued at down the road. 18 months has to be written as a year, so we're going to divide by 12, and we're looking for the R. All right, so example 9, we're given A equals P times 1 plus RT. All right, so we had 18 months, this is for RT, divide by 12 months, and you're going to get 1.5 years. So again, the accumulated value that we paid the check for was $915 to pay off our loan of $890. We're looking to find the R, and the T is 1.5. So 915 equals 890 times 1 plus 1.5 R. I'm just simplifying this part here. All right. I don't really want to distribute the 890. I can actually divide both sides by the 890 on both sides. So I get 915 divided by 890 equals our 1 plus 1.5 R. Then I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. So this gets me 915 divided by 890 minus 1. I need a common denominator because here I'm subtracting. So I'm going to make 1 look like 890 over 890, so it has a common denominator. This is still equal to 1.5 R. 915 minus 890 will get us 25 out of 890 equals 1.5 R. Now we're going to divide both sides by 1.5. Now in your calculator you can put that 25 over 890 divide by 1.5. I am going to talk again about not dividing by fractions but multiplying by reciprocals. If I was doing this all on paper, I would end up with 1.15, 1 over 1.5 times 25 over 890 equal to my R. And you'll get the same answer, just let's show that real quick. So 25 divided by 890 and then divide by 1.5, we get 0.0187265. Or I can also do 1, let's do parentheses. Parentheses 1 divided by 1.5, parentheses 25 divided by 890, and we're going to get the exact same answer. I'd like you to understand more of the math than just let's find the answer. So we get 0.0187, we're going to 4 decimal places, and then we'll change that to a percentage, which will get us 18.7%. So that will be what the value of R is.